Expect the best used car deals guaranteed. Visit arnoldclark.com.
Welcome to Peter and Roughie's Football Show, sponsored by Arnold Clark. I'm Peter Martin, Alan Rough and Steven Naismith here with us on the show. Delighted you could join us. Don't forget you can like, share and follow on our Facebook page. And of course, you can hit the subscribe button. With a bit of luck, you'll be with us on our football family on YouTube as well. We're on Twitter at PLZ Soccer, and we'll get lots to talk about. Technology at times can beat us. We should have had Hugh McDonald with us, but unfortunately, Roughie, he doesn't know how to put the dilithium crystals into the flux capacitor on a regular basis, and that's basically Gustum. Is that fair?
Yeah, it's maybe fortunate. We'll still be celebrating Dortmund winning the other night, so I think that's all we'd be talking about the day if Hugh was on.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was really worried when he pulled out that mobile phone with the big aerial at the top of it at the start. That's what worried me.
What's rather worrying though, Stephen, is I can remember the first one that everybody got, the big giant brick, and everybody thought they were great, padding about Edinburgh and Glasgow with this big giant phone. Anyway, apart from anything else, technology, we've managed to master it for today's programme. You can give us your thoughts on some of the burning issues. We will hear from Steven Gerrard, not too far away from kick-off Slavia Prague against Rangers. Big night for Rangers in the Europa League. We'll also look back on last night's Champions League and ask the question, is this the end of the dynasty of Ronaldo and Messi? Will they move on from their respective clubs for one last shot at the Champions League at another club? All that to discuss. Weekend's football to look forward to as well in the company of Steven and Roughie. So with that in mind, Slavia Prague, if anything, is quite similar, Steven, to what Rangers are offering in the Scottish Premiership. Slavia Prague at the top of their table in the Czech League, and they're certainly flying high and on a good unbeaten run.
They are. I have actually been quizzing Bobby's Lamal about them, obviously for him being from Czech, and he's really positive about how they are as a club, how they've been playing, and especially this season. To say they've probably surprised a slight surprise in how well they've done, especially in Europe. But it's going to be a tough test, but I think it's a tough test in a different way for Rangers in terms of they play Porto, Benfica, Braga, any of these teams. They know they're coming up against a top team, and people probably understand the task of it. Whereas Slavia Prague's slightly different in that some people will be thinking, "No, Rangers should be beating them," but how they've performed this season and how compact they are as a team, I think it's going to be tough for Rangers. It should be a good game, but it'll be a tough game.
Yeah, really looking forward to watching this one. Let's find out a wee bit more about Slavia Prague from our reporter, Gabriel Antoniazzi.
Rangers travelled to Slavia Prague for their Europa League last 16 first leg, fresh from winning their first league title in a decade. But the celebrations are behind them now, as manager Steven Gerrard isn't fully focused on the tie. Their opponents were formed in 1892 and are managed by Jindřich Trpišovský. The Sinobo Stadium was formerly known as the Eden Arena and has a stand named after a Scotsman, John Madden, who was their longest ever serving manager. They have 6 Czech titles, including the last 2, which accompany 13 Czechoslovak versions of the competition. 8 domestic cups also bolster their trophy cabinet. They've never won a European trophy, but they do have recent pedigree, as they played in the Champions League group stage last campaign and reached the Europa League quarters 2 years ago. Key players to look out for are Lukáš Provod, the Czech international who can dominate games, Nikolaj Stančiu, who plays in number 10, and Abdullah Simmer, the 19-year-old forward who scored in the last round. These two clubs have never met before, but Slavia have beaten Scottish sides St Mirren and Hearts 1-0 at home before being knocked out by second-leg defeats. The Red and Whites made it out of a group with Bayer Leverkusen and impressively beat Leicester City in the last round 2-0 on aggregate after a memorable win in England. They're also top of their table and undefeated in their domestic league, having recorded 18 wins and 4 draws in their 22 fixtures. They've won 4 on the bounce, including a 10-3 victory at home last Wednesday. An away goal here could be crucial, as Gerrard aims to improve on last year by reaching the quarter-finals.
Yeah, Roughie, no mean feat to knock out Leicester City. I mean, I've heard various pundits saying it's an off-form Leicester City. I'm not so sure. I watched the 2 legs and I thought Slavia Prague were technically very good indeed.
No, I think that's what happens when you get that kind of result. You know, people take notice, and that's what we're all doing now. I mean, that is a judge, a team sitting second top of the English Premiership. They must have played particularly well. I know they never scored at home, and Rangers will be hoping that'll be the case this time as well. But I mean, we saw the Czech Republic at international level. Okay, first time we played them, they weren't particularly good. They didn't have their full team out. But when they came to Hampden, they looked very good technically. And I think there's half of this team in that Czech Republic side. So no, there won't be an easy one. And I think, as Gabriel was saying there, I think Rangers will be looking for an away goal. I think an away goal is really important in this one. I don't see a scoreline like the last round against Royal Antwerp, the amount of goals. So if Rangers can tidy that up, the goals they conceded and obviously nick one, I think they'll have a better chance when they get to Ibrox.
Here's what Rangers manager Steven Gerrard makes of the opposition.
I think Slavia's performance over both legs was extremely strong. Leicester are a very good team with a good coach who have so far had an excellent season. So instantly it made you well aware of the size of the challenge that we're going to face. This is a team who's going extremely well domestically. So, as I say before, we've got major respect for the opposition, for the players, for the coach. And as far as we're concerned, we know that we have to be at our maximum.
Yeah, and the strange thing about it, Rangers have wrapped up the league as we thought they would, but across Europe, the way Rangers play, the style that he's got them playing as well, Stephen, they're not really scared of anybody. There's a real confidence that they can take a few scalps along the way, and I think there's a genuine belief. I might be wrong here, but I think there's a genuine belief that the next round beckons.
Yeah, I think on the Rangers side, everybody will be confident enough. I think if you look at when the draw comes out, I think they were a team that weren't a definite no, but they were in that kind of middle ground. So I think they will think it's tough, but it's doable. Like I said, in the past, they've played against bigger teams who play good football and who like to attack, and that's what probably suited Rangers in net eyes, that they could be more compact, and we all know the threat they've got going forward. I think tonight both teams will be a bit compact, and I see it being a slightly more cagey game than past games, but you can never rule out Rangers scoring with the threat they've got. Not just Morelos coming on to very good form, but Kent's a match winner. You've got Aribo who's done it in European night. So that's the one thing that would give me a lot of confidence with the Rangers team, is that they've got goals throughout the team and guys who can do it.
Yeah, especially in Europe, I think it's crucial if you've got a player who's got a trick, who can open up a defence, especially if it's tight, and that's the key to it. And as Stephen mentioned there, Roughie, there are 2 or 3 players who are more than capable of doing that as well. And the good thing tonight is I think there'll be about 300 fans in, Roughie. There are some key workers being allowed in, and people associated with the health service. So it'll be nice to get some kind of noise in there.
Yeah, I'm sure the players will appreciate that. It's always good to have a bit of an atmosphere. It gives you something to play for. And I know 300 is not going to make you lift your game, but it's always a start. But they are, and Rangers. When they come to the European games, the manager's not frightened to throw like Kamara, and he's not frightened to throw Aribo in. Because he knows they can play particularly well in a European style of football, and they're the ones that have been really, really up in their game and helping to get Rangers where they are just now. And Roof as well, he's fit. He can come in and get a goal. So, I think that they're not going to go there and be a backs to the wall. They haven't done anything like that in any of the games they've played. So, I think they'll be very positive on the night.
Yeah, as far as Rangers are concerned, there's an ongoing argument with the conduct of their supporters. David Martindale came out today. Obviously, Livingston boss is defending Rangers on the basis that they won the title. And what else do you expect them to do?
Honestly, I don't understand what Rangers were meant to do. I honestly don't. And I think being in a lockdown, I actually think it helped us slightly, because it was just Rangers supporters enjoying their occasion. You never had a mix of all different types of people and all different fans congregating with them, because we're all out on a Saturday night or a Sunday night in the town. So to a certain degree, But I don't understand what Rangers were meant to have done better. I don't know how you control that. I really don't.
Well, he's left himself wide open. I hope he's not on social media, Stephen. He's left himself wide open to a torrent of abuse. But nevertheless, there are real fears. I mean, I think we've been talking about it yesterday. Roughie was discussing the situation where the Old Firm game could be in doubt. I don't see that, Stephen. I don't know what you think. I think there is certainly a need for everybody to sit down and talk and warn their fans, but I think that's just taking it to the extreme to cancel that game.
Yeah, I think it's said to send a message, but I think for people on the outside that don't understand it, I think the scenes just show the magnitude of what's happened. The Rangers fans have been starved from any success, being gloated from your biggest rivals. So the achievement in itself shows that the occasion is as big as it is. In terms of stopping it, I can understand to a point where David Martindale's coming from in terms of how do you stop it. That is the big thing. It's not as if this is something that happened overnight, so you'd have expected there to be conversations happen beforehand, and especially after last weekend's events going forward. There needs to be some form of plan in place to prevent, obviously, the large gatherings. It's a tough one because Rangers fans are just want to enjoy it, but we're in the midst of a pandemic and we're so close to, or we seem to be so close to coming to an end of it, and you would hate for this to ruin it all. But I can't, like you said, Peter, I can't see the game being off. But it is a significant occasion, especially come the weekend if Rangers have a good result.
Yeah, there's no getting away from it, Roughie. I mean, I think we've discussed it ad nauseum. The facts of the matter are there's a dilemma over whether Rangers did enough. That's open to debate. Stephen Gerrard, Douglas Park, many of the Rangers board will say they did do enough on this situation. The evidence suggests otherwise because obviously Stephen's talked about it there. So Rangers fans desperately want to celebrate the fact that they've won the title after such a long road back. But over and above that, on the second day, when you're in George Square, in great numbers as well, the evidence suggests that you're breaking the law. So that said, Roughie, and that's been shelved because everybody's had their tuppence worth on it, I think there needs to be a consistent message put out by the manager, by other players, and again, right across social media for Rangers and Celtic fans not to go anywhere near that ground, because certainly the assurances that the government are looking for are coming from Rangers and Celtic coming up with a structured plan to get the message over, not just on one day, but every day all the way up to it.
Yeah, I think it's even more important that it's the Rangers-Celtic game that's coming up. I think there needs to be loud messages from both clubs, to their set of fans, and actually tell them the responsibility that's on their head in this game, because we know sometimes the Rangers-Celtic games get out of hand, and we don't want that to happen. We don't want anybody hurt. So it really needs to come from both clubs, even more so, Rangers, because we know Rangers are jubilant just now, and the fans want to celebrate. And I know a lot of Rangers stuff was behind the scenes, but it'd be good if the manager came out and did something on behalf of the club, or even the chairman comes out and does something. But we really need to do something really before this game, because it's a powder keg. I was hearing before we come on air that the government are actually asking for it to be a night game. But I don't think the two clubs are happy about it getting played at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, absolutely. I could tell.
See, to be honest, Peter, though, there's going to be the same issue is going to appear when it's trophy day. The exact same thing's going to. So there needs to be a consistent plan going forward here to minimise the risk of it all.
Yeah, listen, I agree with you. I mean, my personal opinion is I think Rangers should have been more consistent in their message to the fans. It should have been more high profile, the message across to them. It didn't happen. In the cold light of day, you can't get away from it. There are supporters who broke the law. It's as simple as that. What repercussions come after that through the police is open to the debate of the police. That's for them to decide, not for us to decide whether they've done their job properly or not in putting fines out to fans who broke the law and some who actually were guilty of vandalism. That's for somebody else to decide. All we can tell you is there's a law in place. Don't go out. Certainly don't go out in great numbers. And fans broke it. So if there are consequences, then it's further down the line with the police. What we're hoping is that there's no consequences now for both Celtic and Rangers coming up with this game. And I think you're absolutely right, Stephen. I think there needs to be a plan in place which not only covers the Old Firm game, but covers the actual celebrations for the presentation of the title. The only thing I would say, Stephen, is I think there could be, and I think Rangers fans deserve their day of celebrating. I can't remember if it was Charlie Adam mentioned, it wouldn't be a bad idea to come up with a whole plan for a week. When it's safe for everybody to go out and they've all had their vaccine, a week's long celebration at the start of next season where the fans can come in, there'll be a tour, there'll be a celebration with the trophy, the players are there, almost like an open day or an open week for everyone. Because I think, when you've waited such a long time, I think there are circumstances where you've got to say to yourself, wait a minute, once it's safe, get them all together and enjoy that full week of celebrations.
Yeah, to be honest, I think there probably will be a few things with it being such a significant year and everything that surrounded this season, on top of how long it's been, the kind of new leadership on the football side and the club side. You can definitely see that happening. And like you say, if it's all safe and well, then the start of the next season probably sounds like a sensible way to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I don't think, Roughie, you should be denying the Rangers fans their opportunity to celebrate. There's been difficult circumstances, but for what I call the decent fans who are law-abiding fans, who are sticking to the rules, they want a chance to celebrate their team winning that title. It's been such a long wait.
Yeah, it's a great idea. You have it maybe first game of the season. We're talking around about August time. You're going to 50,000 people in the stadium. You can allow the people. Obviously, we hope everything's died down a wee bit. You could allow everybody outside the stadium then, if it's up for it. But I think that's the best time to do it. Because from now until things get better, everybody's been going to get told to keep off the streets, stay at home. And that's the message. So it's got to get through to people. But I think if the club were to come out and say, look, we're going to have a massive celebration at the first game of the season or whatever, I think a lot of it would curtail a lot of the fans trying to do something else.
Yeah, quite a lot of people offering their opinion on it. Robbie Ferguson says you haven't got a clue what you're talking about. I think it's blatantly obvious, Robbie. People broke the law, and there are consequences. I don't know how much more we need. Do we need a degree to actually think about it? There are mitigating circumstances where a lot of decent Rangers fans who stayed in, who followed the rules, want to actually celebrate the title win. But that will be done when it's been allowed by the government. I don't know what, Robbie, you need more to say on that. Lots of Rangers fans missed out on it. They wanted to enjoy it, and they will enjoy it because hopefully the club will put something in place. As far as going on, again, I think the general consensus from Stephen and Roughie and myself is got to be some celebration at some point in the future for the Rangers fans who want to celebrate when it's legally allowed to do it. Yeah. So with that in mind, Stephen?
See, the only one thing I would say on it is the raw emotion of the occasion is the hard thing for people to deal with. I've been there in that situation of just all that hard work has paid off. That is probably a big driver for a lot of them as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, you can't get away from raw emotion, but there are lots of things that through raw emotion people want to get out on the streets to complain about, moan about, celebrate, you name it, but they're not allowed to. And in the cold light of day, Roughie, the facts are that I accept that there's some people who are thinking it was such a big occasion, it's a momentous occasion, and it's a great occasion for Steven Gerrard, but at the end of the day, we're now in a situation where hopefully Rangers and Celtic can come to some sort of agreement that the Old Firm game is not off the calendar, Roughie, going into the summer.
Yeah, I think we've got to keep remembering what the government are saying. The government are telling the people this are the rules. And the George Square one in particular, I don't know how many was there, but I saw very little evidence of people wearing masks at all. Now, if I'd finished this show and I go up to the supermarket and I want to go into the supermarket without a mask on, I'm not getting in. That's the rules, that we've got to obey. So it was just the non-obeyment of the rules that got me, particularly when a lot of people are going through things. I get the celebration bit as well as a supporter. I get what you would want to be doing, and it'd be hard not to do it, but it's just where we are at this moment in time that you've got to abide by them.
Yeah, and we're so close to getting the point where there'll be lots of people vaccinated. The one other aspect of this, which I think is the human element of it, is despite the fact there were lots of Rangers fans out there, and they shouldn't have been out there, you don't want anyone to catch the virus, and certainly not have any consequences which leave them in really ill health. I think that's another, position that we have to emphasise to everyone, is the fact that you don't want your mates who went out there either getting ill themselves, other people get ill, family members get ill because the virus is out there, and it's not exactly a virus that considers whether you're wearing a Rangers or a Celtic scarf or any other scarf, to be honest with you. But I do hope Rangers and Celtic get together, get a consistent message out there, and the government are accepting of their terms of how they're going to play this out ahead of this game, because there's no doubt about it, Rangers will want to go to Celtic Park as champions and enjoy their day, and possibly just cement their dominance that has been evident throughout this season, where they've been dominant, winning games consistently, and of course winning the Old Firm games as well. As far as the game's concerned, which will kick off at 5 to 6, Stephen, I think Rangers might get a draw. I think 1-1.
Yeah, 0-0 or 1-1. I think I can't rule out Rangers scoring, but I think it'll be a cagier affair than has been in the past. I think back to when we got to the Europa League final, so many of the first legs were don't lose it rather than win it, and I think that tonight's that kind of game.
Roughie?
Yeah, as I said yesterday, I've been impressed with them, particularly the Leicester game and the games beforehand. I think Rangers will get beat tonight, but I think they'll get the important goal. I think the important goal will get them through to the next round. So I'm going to go for 2-1.
McGregor, Patterson, Goldson, Helander, Barisic, Davis, Kamara, Aribo, Hadji, Morelos and Kent. You can always tell a championship winning team, Stephen. You can usually rhyme them all off.
Yep, you can, and that's shown in their performances, both defensively and in attack. I think Morelos is coming into form, and on his last European outing, he was sensational. So I think it's a good team, one that we've spoke about. It's got a lot of threat. They might take a wee 10-15 minutes to get into the game after the celebrations, but I think the manager seems to have it on point in terms of the motivation side of things. So no, I think they'll be up for it.
Who's your star man for Rangers this season?
It's hard. I think I've got a soft spot for Tavernier and Goldson because they've had pelters, especially Tavernier over the years. He's took pelters and he's had real quality, and all he's done is every season slightly, consistently get better and better and better. And now he's a captain who's going to lift the trophy. And it's not as if he's just a captain; he's contributed massively. Goldson's an R1. The defensive record's been sensational. Put that down to him and Griggsy. But then I think more so this season you look more at the defensive side of things because it has been so good. But then Kent's numbers have improved massively this season compared to previous seasons. Davo just goes about his business. Kamara, I think as a collective, they've all went up a good notch, and that's what's been the defining factor.
Yeah, here's the other matches in the Europa League that we can look forward to. Manchester United against AC Milan is a tasty one. Slavia Prague Rangers, as we've been discussing. Olympiacos against Arsenal. They've been meeting each other on a regular basis. I think they've played each other 10 times, home and away, over the last few years. And then Tottenham against Dynamo Zagreb. I think I'll Slavia Prague Rangers first and foremost, Roughie, and then I might cast my eye. I don't know about you, but I might cast my eye over Tottenham because I just love to see Tottenham, Roughie, with Bale in the side now. I just, he's such a world class player. I can't believe that he wasn't in any capacity for quite long periods of this season. But when he's in now, he looks as if he's going to score every time he gets the ball.
Yeah, and it's a fantastic front three, isn't it? Every one of them give you a wee bit of excitement. But for me, I think the manager has sort of nailed this trophy as one he needs to win. Obviously, he's not going to get anywhere in anything else, so he's got a habit of winning European trophies. So I think everybody should keep their eye on them. I think they'll win this one, particularly with the three that I mentioned. And they as well look as if they're geared towards European football like Rangers are. They seem to have certain players in that team, who can play that style of football, and that's why they're getting the success there.
Yeah, and the other ultimate carrot, Stephen, which I think is, at times you look at it from an English perspective because of the strength of them, the Europa League gives you a place in the Champions League, and that will be the ultimate carrot for them.
Yeah, it will be a great decision a few years ago when they changed that format that the winners of that tournament go into the Champions League. I'm fuming that the Man U game's on the same time as the Rangers game. I'd rather that one later so that I could catch the two games. But no, again, I'm probably like yourself. I'll watch Spurs later on. The Son Kane duo has now turned into a trio. Definitely with Bale now hitting form, but it's probably their inconsistency in terms of not so much their recent results, but just before that they would have a couple of good results and then. But again, I agree. Europe probably suits them better in terms of the way they're playing. The demand of having to go and win isn't there as such straight away, as long as you get through the tie. So, and the manager loves winning trophies, so he'll be a big push for them.
Yeah, if you'd really worked hard at your profession and tried to, maybe get to play for really good clubs, Stephen, you could have done what Tam McManus has done. He's got a 50-foot giant dish on his roof, and he just turns it around so that each television could give him Slavia Prague Rangers, and then Man United AC Milan. He seems to be able, Roughie, he can get any game around the world. Boca Juniors against River Plate.
There's been a TV detective van driving about his scheme trying to find where he stays for the last fortnight.
Oh, no, be hard with the big dish now.
Exactly. To be fair, every time I think of these games and where they're going to be watching them, I thought, Tam's going to get that game because we can't get it. But yes, Slavia Prague Rangers, Man United, AC Milan's tasty, but no, we'll watch Slavia Prague Rangers tonight. As far as other news, that's Europa League. Other news can get your thoughts on, guys, is I don't know if you like this and whether we should persevere with it, but this pre-contract thing I think is a great annoyance to lots of fans up and down the country. Celtic have signed a boy called Liam Shaw. And I think the Sheffield Wednesday fans are absolutely raging. He's a 19-year-old midfielder. And again, it's one of those situations where he signs a pre-contract, he's off to Celtic, and the fans just have to like it and lump it. I think the one thing that's even more difficult, Stephen, is if he's signing for a club in the same division, then the player really, suffers the wrath as potentially, some of the Aberdeen players that moved to Rangers could have suffered.
Yeah, it's a very tricky area. I think we've touched in the past that Jordan Jones stays at Kilmarnock, plays against Rangers and scores, and he has an input. Wright ends up moving, but the manager was very happy with him staying around the squad. But it is a tricky one. There is things that you could argue that you could sign the contract, just keep it quiet and act from a player's point of view, act daft and just say, "Oh, I'm waiting to the summer to see what happens," and not let the cat out of the bag. But that in itself is quite tough to do as well. But as a player side, again, you need to be strong enough to deal with the consequences. It's probably easier now that fans aren't in the stadiums, but it's not a comfortable position to be in when a club maybe sees you as a prospect and you're leaving. So they're kind of the comments and the abuse that come with it are something that you just part and parcel. You need to deal with it and think, just be sure you've made the right decision.
I like the idea of keeping it quiet, Stephen. I like that idea because many a player has come out with the classic line, Roughie, I'm just waiting to see, weigh up my options in the summer, knowing full well where they're going. I think, you're in a situation where there's got to be some kind of agreement saying, look, the whole world has changed. Player movement now is, far more easy and free for them to do at the end of their contract. I think there's going to be some kind of agreement where you're not suffering the wrath of the fans,
Peter,
but like everybody else in a job, you're moving job.
Yeah, but in that dynamic, you've then got three different agendas. You've got the new club, you've got the old club, and you've got the player. So to keep that three different parties on with everything, and like you say, keep the same message just consistently, it's very difficult for that to happen.
Yeah, it is. I agree with you.
But the other thing as well, Peter, if the club really, really want the player, they know when his contract's going to run out. So all they've got to do is, a lot of clubs have been doing now, is identifying that you've got a year to go in your contract. We want you to sign a wee bit longer. And if the player decides, he doesn't want to take that extra year and he wants to move on, then I'm sure that would make it a lot easier if he knew the player was just wanted to move.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a couple of games at the weekend. Obviously, would have been an international weekend as well. There's a couple of games that are taking place in the Premiership. I can't believe, Stephen, that they didn't take advantage of lots of other games that could have been played on this weekend.
I know, crazy. I think it buys you a week back just in case. But in terms of the two games, I think it's obviously going to have a big input in the bottom of the table. Kilmarnock will be sitting there watching, hoping that Livy and Hibs can get the results. But for me, Hamilton and Ross County will both fancy their chances in both games. Hamilton for the way they're playing, and Ross County being at home, I think. And Hibs haven't travelled too, if anything, they've dropped points a lot of the times when away from home. So that'll be an interesting weekend.
Yeah, bottom of the table is definitely the one to watch, and whether Hamilton can continue this great escape. You can just hear the theme music kicking in every time they go into the park because they're up against the Livingston side. And Livy, what a season it's been for them, despite the poor form over the last 3 or 4 weeks. David Martindale's tried to justify everything by saying, listen, when you consider the budget we have, we are punching well above our weight.
My budget, I'll be honest, I've told everybody my budget's 12. So how the budget works at Livingston Football Club is whatever 12th position gets in the league this year, that'll be my budget next year. So if we go down the following year, we're 12th, the club's not losing thousands of pounds, and every single player that signs at Livingston's got a relegation clause in their contract because we can't afford to pay the wages if we drop down to the Championship.
Oh, there's that's a sensible approach to it all, Roughie, isn't it?
I know what he's talking about. As soon as you drop into that division, into the Championship, you're down £600,000 right away. And that's a large amount of money for clubs like Livingston and the players, the wages that the players are on. So I think all the players and the clubs know why they have to stay in that league, in the Premiership. And I think that is very evident the way they all voted the last time to change things. They don't want to change it. They have to stay in the Premiership. They have to be there. Any club, big club that drops into the Championship, if they're not financially secure, are going to struggle big time to get back up again.
Yep, and the other matches we're talking about there was Ross County against Hibs. Nice little touch from Jack Ross, who paid tribute to the outgoing manager at Aberdeen, Derek McManus.
I've mentioned on a number of occasions previously how good Derek's been to me during my own managerial career, from back when I started at Alloa, right up until I lost my job at Sunderland. The time he spent speaking to me and advice he's given me, and I've utmost respect for Derek as a person and what he's achieved as a manager. So disappointed to see him leave, even though it's against obviously a team that we've been very much competing with all season to finish in that position in the league.
Yeah, in a way, Hibs have cranked it up, the pressure on Aberdeen and the departure of Derek McManus, because they are in the box seat, Stephen.
Yeah, it's in their hands. I think, like I said earlier, throughout the season, they have wee blips where the results that you think they're going to get, they don't get. But the result last weekend and again playing this weekend lets them push that bit ahead, and that's where they've got to just capitalise on that to give themselves or to not keep themselves under so much pressure. I think if they can get that slight gap, they've got that bit of leeway that if results don't go their way, and it also forces Aberdeen that they need to pick the results up to catch them. And I think, I think if I'm honest, I think Hibs will get third. I think they've probably got too much more in the attack than Aberdeen do.
Yep, it'll be an interesting run right to the end of the season. Interestingly enough, the Aberdeen job, who's going to get it? As I mentioned at the start of the week, I heard that Stephen Glass was really in the box seat for it. Although in the last 24 hours, you always get it, Roughie. Everybody throws their weight into it, throws their name in if they want to get back into management. Stephen Presley apparently wants to be the Aberdeen manager and has let everybody into a secret that he was an Aberdeen fan growing up. I certainly didn't know that. I think that's a bit of the old Brendan Rodgers there. I don't know about you, Roughy, but
kept that quiet when he was at Rangers.
Yeah.
Absolutely, he did. Yeah, and of course, a 3-year contract up in Pittodrie. I'm an Aberdeen fan, Roughy.
I'm surprised he never had an Aberdeen strip on or that photograph. Sometimes you've got to try and convince them. But no, I'm like you. I think the boy Glass is a given. He's already got 2 directors on the board who are going to vote his way, meaning the owner and the other boy from Atlanta, who's a director at Aberdeen as well. So the votes are particularly swaying towards him, and they know him. And sometimes it's better the guy you know than the guy you don't know. So I think it's heavily swaying towards him.
Yeah.
It's a great job.
I don't know about you.
It's a great job.
Oh, fantastic job,
do you know
isn't
what I mean? I'd imagine they'll be swamped with applicants because it is, and a lot of the hard work that's went in terms of getting the training ground and your budgets and that have all been done. So you're walking into an environment that's top class.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, I don't know about you, Stephen, but don't think Roughie does, but I get up in the morning and before you get out of bed, I have a quick look at the phone, just go down to Twitter, see if there's any major news. And lo and behold, this morning I was scrolling down and I just see the Morton statement. Gus McPherson has taken over the job as Morton manager. And I thought to myself, oh, aye. So I sent him a little text and said, I've decided to accept the job as Rangers manager when Steven Gerrard leaves. Because if you can do that, I can do things just as mad. I mean, honestly, Gus, the former St Mirren boss, takes over at Morton.
That, and then on top of that, I don't think MD would have seen it coming. I think his name's not really been linked with any jobs recently or anything like that. So it was very surprising. But he's got experience. That's probably one of the biggest things. Morton have done well recently to pick up results and climb the table. So I think from now to the guiding from now to the end of the season, probably experience is the best way to go.
Yeah, absolutely. Gus is a good manager, Roughie. I mean, he's got great quality.
His whole life's football, even when he was playing, and then obviously getting into management and being about, and the Queen's Park job and then getting into St Mirren and doing particularly well behind the scenes. And then all of a sudden you're out the game. And it's a hard one to get your head round. So when jobs come up, you want to get your feet back in there because as Stevie was just saying there's far too many managers out of jobs just now. I think every application there'll be about 40, 45 people hunting that job. So to get your feet back in, I don't think it matters where it is. You're just back in there enjoying the game.
Okay,
a wee story about Gus, Peter.
Go on then.
When I was a youngster coming through, and I had an occasion I was playing with the reserves, and back in the day, first team boys would drop down and play in the reserves. And I can't remember if Gus was at either Dunfermline or St Mirren. I think he was at Dunfermline at the end of his career. Anyway, we were playing in the game, and I was up front, he was in defence, and I was pointing everywhere I wanted the ball. I kept pointing, and he was coaching me through the game while he was playing against me, saying like, "Oh, you should have been. I know where you're going here. I know where you're wanting the ball. You need to be a bit cuter and clever about it." So even back then, he was a decent enough coach and a decent enough guy.
Yeah, absolutely. I've got a lot of time for him. He's absolutely top drawer in my book, and I wish him all the well at a club that I think is a great club as well. There's fans there want nothing but the best for Morton. So hopefully he gives him a little bit of success and maybe a longer term view with Gus, because he eats, sleeps, and drinks football. And good luck to Davy Hopkin as well, Roughie. He's the new manager of Ayr United.
Yes, he certainly is. And again, they've identified all the good work that he did, at Livingston. And obviously he's got contacts as well. So, no, I think he's proved himself in any of the clubs he's been at, that he is an appointment that you would want, that kind of guy. And Ayr United are always a really good family club. They always work within their means, and they've got a good board there. And, I think that's a great appointment for them.
Yeah, just a couple of points here. There's one other one, Stephen, which I think is well worthy of mention. PFA Scotland Chief Executive Fraser Wishart has called for the abuse of footballers over social media to be treated as a hate crime. And I agree with him. I hope we can accelerate the process. First of all, an identification that needs to be provided if you're going to be able to say anything on social media platforms. And then secondary to it, if you still after that think it's okay to abuse people, then you should have to pay the consequences.
Definitely. I think you've seen it with the racism comments on social media, and then over the course of the last 2 weeks or so, Shane Duffy's been getting horrendous tweets and comments to him. And that's the thing. It's somebody just off the top of their head, just writing something, not thinking what that outcome of that happens to be for the person on the end of it. It's just a comment. It's just something they're writing on their phone or their computer. It's shocking. But like again, there needs to be a process to be able to identify these people, because it's one, it's not acceptable, and two, a lot of damage can come from these comments.
Have you witnessed it? Have you experienced it as a painful time in your life at any point?
No, I've never really been tuned too much in to social media that in terms of the reaction of things, to be honest. But I've seen it around changing rooms. Boys will show you some of the comments, and in some respects, see when it's down to football ability and how you perform, it can be a tool to toughen a player up. I seen it when in England. I always remember Ross Bartley coming to me after a game, or we were on the bus and he was showing me some of the comments, and he'd had a bad game and absolutely getting battered. And he's like, it's just haters. It's just haters. They've not got a clue. And I was like, that's actually quite good that he's reacting like that, and he's not letting it physically bother him and like deal with it in terms of just putting it to one side. But then when it's just everything else out with your profession, it's ruthless, inappropriate, and shockingly bad. And that's what I'm saying. When people write these comments, they just think, "Oh, I'm going to send abuse to him. That's brilliant." A few of his mates might have a laugh or a joke or whoever it is that's saying it, but the damage that it does it's incredible. I would argue that has a much bigger effect on especially younger players making it and not making it in the game.
Well, I mean, that's strong words indeed there. And of course, the other thing about it as well is, as you mentioned there is a fine line. I think there's a fine line where, footballers in an industry, in sport in general, is an industry, Roughie, where you are commented on every time you take to the field. And then there is a fine line where there's banter. We all get that. We know where that is. Then there's, oh, by the way, you had a stinker. He was rotten today. That's just the nature of football. It's the other part that I think some people don't get, Roughie. They think if you can tell somebody he's rotten at football or he is in a bad game, you can go another stage further. And I think that's where the education of people is a necessity.
I think the education's important, but I think the three of us know that there's some people out there who can't be educated and are just off their trolley. And you mentioned quite a lot of them during the show, whenever you need to. And they're the people that you're trying to get at, and you would hope it gets through, but it doesn't. And Stevie's right. I mean, it's a modern day thing now. Everybody's got a phone. Everybody's on their phone, particularly the younger ones. I think their phones are stuck to their hands at some stages. So if you're getting involved with the social media side and I think a lot of managers are now having meetings with the younger players and saying, look, you have to be watching what you're doing here. Tend to stay away from it. Don't get involved with it, because as Stevie said, everybody's not strong enough to handle the kind of abuse that's going about on these things. And we've heard some horrendous stories, about unfortunately personal things happening to people. So it's got to be stopped. And as we keep talking about on the phone, it's got to be punished as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I have to say, on Twitter, on Facebook and YouTube, we have a high percentage of thoroughly decent people who love their club. Lots of people. I'm so glad that we do have lots of football fans. Yes, we get pelters. They give us pelters. You enjoy that. We disagree because people have opinions that don't necessarily agree with ours. And we sometimes might annoy them, but a lot of our football fans can say, listen, we don't agree with what you say, but they put it across in a fairly respectable and balanced way, and that's the nature of football. That's the way it should be. Banter absolutely can take the criticism as well. Just before the Teddies come out and take to the field and hopefully get a positive result, Stephen. Messi and Ronaldo. Messi outscored a wonder goal last night. I just wonder now if Juan Laporta has got enough in his kitty to keep Messi at Barcelona, or will he go for one final swan song somewhere else? The speculation is that Ronaldo might be looking elsewhere as well, now that Juventus can't get to the Champions League final.
Yeah, I think Ronaldo's probably most likely. I like the thought of Messi playing with Barca his whole career. If he was to move, I'd love him to go to City just to be linked with Guardiola again. But I think with Laporta coming in, they've been around each other in the past, a lot of success in that. So, and his comments before the election and stuff were very much, he thinks Messi will stay, he can do enough, which I don't think he does that without having a bit of info up his sleeve on that front. But they are struggling massively financially, which is probably the biggest concern.
Yeah, absolutely, Roughie. I'd love to see Messi and Ronaldo in the English Premier League, just to be able to watch them every week and get a real sense of how they would handle it. And Ronaldo, no problem, because obviously he's done it before as a kid here. But Messi, it would be great to see him just strut his stuff as well.
No, it'd be fantastic. You would get all the coverage, obviously TV, they'd be more accessible, we'd see more of them. I mean, whatever club's got them, and I think we discussed it the other day, it'd have to be somebody with a few bob. Somebody's prepared to chip millions and millions at it. But it'd be worth it, because when you think of the everything that would come in, the shirt sponsorship, everything, the season tickets, everything, you would get your money back in no time. But I think, like Stevie, I think Messi got photographs with his young kid in the stadium. I still think the club means a lot to him, so I can't see him moving just now. But as you said there, what a fantastic goal last night. What a strike. I watched it. It must have moved about 3 or 4 times before it hit the back of the net. I don't know why the goalkeeper dived. There's no point in diving. If you're not going to get it, what's the point? It was a stupid dive anyway. It looked ridiculous.
Is that what you were doing through your career?
Oh, just watch it. Just watch them.
The really good goalkeeper, Stephen. No, there's no point in going for it. That's what Roughie told me. Listen, just before we go, make this a short answer, Naismith, to be perfectly honest with you. Are you fit? Are you available for Hearts here United at the weekend?
I'll find out the day next day or so. Just my calf's been a wee bit playing up, and I had a wee setback at the start of the week, but it's feeling better now, so hopefully.
Yeah, fingers crossed. I mean, you guys are still. I mean, your record's still good with the Jambos out in front. It's destiny's in your own hands, even if Wraith Rovers start to hunt you down.
Yeah, and I think it's tricky for all the teams catching up. There's going to be a lot of games, especially with Scottish Cup. But we're confident that we just keep focused on our results. We got a good result against Dundee. Performance was better. So going forward, we need to continue that on this month.
Yeah, and what about the players that have come in? Is there any that you're looking at now that have settled in? You're thinking once they get up to speed, they'll be really good for Hearts?
Aaron, who's come in the middle of the park, centre mid, he's got a lot of good attributes. He's played in Ireland, so there's a bit of time he needs to adjust and get up to speed in the toughness of the game. But he's shown real quality and composure, so he's one that will definitely do well. And Big Armand up front is just settling in. He scored again at the weekend, so he played well. So hopefully he can continue that on.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Listen, good luck, Stevie. Hopefully you are fit enough to play at the weekend. Good luck to Rangers tonight. Only about an hour. We'll manage to sneak in our dinner, Roughie, and then just settle down with a glass of red wine. Football all the way, Roughie. I'm Slavia Prague Rangers, and then on to the Tottenham. What's it for you, Roughie?
Yeah, that's Rangers for me. Yep, I want to see that game. I think it'll be really exciting. I think it'll be end-to-end stuff, and then probably Tottenham, see how they can do, and probably jump into George Square later on. Yeah, good luck with that. Anyway, sorry about Hugh McDonald. We missed Hugh today. Just a wee bit of a technical issue. Couldn't get him on with us, but we will have him back fighting fit for next week. From Steven Naismith, from Alan Ruff and myself, don't forget to like, share and follow us on Facebook. And if you can, hit the subscribe button on the YouTube. There is a competition going on right now at the top of our Facebook page in PLZ Soccer, where you could win yourself an iPad, an Xbox, and a Diego Maradona canvas. All you have to do is hit the send message button, follow the instructions, answer the question, then submit your details. And by the end of this month, we'll announce one lucky winner. Good luck with that. And today, thanks for watching.
Expect the best used car deals guaranteed. Visit arnoldclark.com.